The January 21st, 2026 meeting of the Historic Preservation and Design Review Board is now called to order. Staff, please call roll.
Brooks.
Here.
Chupini Kemp. Absent. Purcell.
Here.
Berbers.
Here.
Kolev.
Here.
Chairperson Gasson.
Here. We do have a quorum. Just a reminder, as always, for those in the audience and up here on the board to silence your cell phones before we start the meeting. There is a QR code on the screen, right, with tonight's agenda and packet if you want to follow along. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the December 17th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I motion we approve the minutes.
Motion by Mr. Berbers. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Brooks. Are there any comments, edits to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the minutes are passed. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to gather comments and information regarding a petition, provide a motion to approve with refinements, or deny the certificate of design appropriateness. This public hearing has been called to order by the Hpdrb as a continuation of the proposed 25-CDA-0003, a petition seeking a certificate of design appropriateness for the design of 7 attached homes for the property at 902 Maple Avenue. Notice of this hearing was posted on the property and notices were sent out per village ordinance. Anyone who may wish to speak tonight will be sworn in, and a tape recording of the proceedings will be made on village equipment and retained until minutes of the hearing have been prepared and approved. I'd like to now summarize the procedures we'll follow for tonight's public hearing. First, village staff will present their report regarding the petition, after which the Hpdrb may ask questions. The petitioner will then present testimony regarding their petition, after which the Hpdrb may ask questions of the petitioner and any of the petitioner's witnesses. Next, members of the public may ask questions and or offer any sworn testimony with regards to the petition. After the public has completed its commentary, the Hpdrb may question any member of the public who has spoken regarding their testimony. If they wish, the petitioner may then cross-examine any member of the public who has spoken. The petitioner may make a summary or closing statement if they wish. Following that, there'll be a deliberation by the Hpdrb with a motion to either approve or deny the petition. At this hearing, the Hpdrb may impose limitations on evidence or testimony, such as time limits and barring repetition, irrelevant, or immaterial testimony. Time limits, if we do impose those, will be fair and equally administered. We will now begin with the swearing in of all witnesses. Anyone wishing to speak tonight, please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Being sworn in does not obligate you to speak, but if you feel like you might say something, it would be good to do that so that you don't have to do it later. So with that, if you intend to speak, please stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state in the affirmative, I do. Thank you. At this point, we'll please ask staff to give their presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Flora Leon again, the senior planner with the Village of Downers Grove. Before we get started with the overall petition request, I just wanted to provide an overview of the downtown design guidelines and the review process. With the certificate of design appropriateness, as you all know, there are certain items that are not under the purview of the Historic Preservation and Design Review Board. On this slide, I've listed 4 items, the first being architectural style, zoning requirements, signage, and then stormwater/building code requirements. On this slide, I provided scopes of work that trigger this certificate of design appropriateness review in the downtown zoning districts, so in the downtown business, downtown core, and downtown transition. The scopes of work that would require a certificate of design appropriateness, or in short, a CODA, include facade renovations, additions visible from a street or an alley, new multifamily/single family attached houses, such as this petition, for example, that are not required to seek village council approval. So something, a scope of work that would not require an entitlement, something that is permitted by right. And then finally, the fourth scope of work is new commercial buildings that do not require, again, village council approval, something that would be permitted by right. Next, we can move on to the Certificate of Design Appropriateness request for 902 Maple Avenue, petition number 25 CDA 0003. On this slide, I provided a location map for your review. I know that everyone is pretty much acquainted with the overall site, so I'll just provide a brief overview here. The petitioner is seeking a certificate of design appropriateness for the design of 7 attached homes at 902 Maple. As you know, the property is zoned DT, which stands for Downtown Transition. In Article 5 of the zoning ordinance, the proposed use, attached houses, otherwise known as townhomes, are allowed by right in the Downtown Transition District. As such, this use does not require village council approval. Prior to the adoption of the Downtown Design Guidelines in 2021, this type of proposal would have simply required a building permit with no board review or public hearing. However, in 2021, the Certificate of Design Appropriateness process was created in tandem with the Downtown Design Guidelines to allow for the Historic Preservation and Design Review Board, as well as public comment on petitions in the downtown. This design review process is under the Historic Preservation and Design Review Board's purview. However, as previously noted, the process is not intended to dictate architectural styles. It is also important to note that the proposed development will comply with bulk regulations of the zoning ordinance. Items include, but are not limited to, density, height, setbacks, as well as parking requirements. Finally, I wanted to share that staff did receive public comment via email. One additional email was received after the agenda was posted that has been printed and placed on the dais for your review this evening. In this next slide, I wanted to provide some background on the continuation of the petition. So as you all know, the initial public hearing for this request was held on December 17th, 2025. The Historic Preservation and Design Review Board at that point decided to continue the petition to allow the petitioner to address some of their comments and concerns. For the benefit of both the board as well as the members of the public, the focus of tonight's meeting should be to review and discuss these outstanding comments to determine if the petitioner has addressed each item. As a summary, the 4 items on this slide include considering the use of a residential door, adding an entry canopy detail, looking at window design to create more of a residential feel, and then finally to include a detailed cornice feature. The petitioner will provide a detailed explanation of the changes that they made to address these comments. On this next slide, I provided the Downtown Design Guidelines for your review. This is the approval standard to be considered for this evening's petition. The guidelines, as you know, are divided into 7 separate sections shown on the right-hand side. These include site design, building base, building middle, building top, utility considerations, as well as parking facilities. The Certificate of Design Appropriateness standards for approval, staff does believe that they have been met. As such, staff continues to recommend approval. Should the Hpdrb agree, a draft motion can be found on page 11 of your overall agenda packet. If you all have any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
Are there any questions for staff? Point. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Flora. At this time, the petitioner, if you would like to come up and please state your name and address and the nature of your application, including all witnesses and evidence in support of your case.
Thank you. Hello, it's nice to be here again. My name is Bill Roden-Hornoff. I'm with 2RZ. We're the architects for the project. I have to learn how to do this again. So what I'd like to do is focus on those 4 principal changes that were made. Some are more substantial than others, and I'd like to take you through that detail. So this is the original proposal that we had. As you recall, the entry canopy covers the entry. That entryway is set back, and it's distinguished by having the floor-to-ceiling glass, the sort of screen that goes over the windows, and then the brick protrusions just to break up the line along Maple Avenue. The change we made, you can see, I think the most substantial one is the elimination of the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, and that screen has been removed. The material for that inset portion is the same material that's up on top of the roof. It's the geolam sort of clapboard wood. The windows now are more punched openings. You know, again, I would sort of characterize that as more of a residential window. They have a sill, they have a head. They also have larger frames around them, so that has a larger casing component to it. It's still recessed back, and we did leave the lower level window also gotten smaller, but it's a one big window now. The other change, I'll come back to the door here in a minute. So you can kind of see, again, this is the view from the previous design with the screen and the floor-to-ceiling windows, and then the change to the punched openings, the more solid wall as the inset. You can sort of see how that changes on the Washington Street elevation as well. So this is the original entrance. So this is typical for all the townhomes. Their entrance, they have a planter, the door there you can see, the floor-to-ceiling glass and the canopy. And then this is the change. So the door itself, you know, there's some concerns about, you know, is a glass door a residential, suitable thing? I think it was also mentioned from a security standpoint. So the door now has a glass transom, but the door itself is a solid wood door. And you can sort of see the difference between the image you see before and the image here, where the window itself is more of just of an opening. So obviously there's a more secure nature to this entry. The other thing that we added, and I think this was brought up as well, is that we had light in the canopy itself, but we're adding a wall sconce. And I think that was something that also kind of adds to its more residentialness. And then again, this is more of a close-up of, you can sort of see how the wall carries up with the punched openings. The other change, let me go back to a view of the, it's hard to see here because we're kind of far away from it. The cornice itself, right? So that from the design guidelines, the top of the building is very important. And so we had what I call the subtle cornice. So we had protruded brick, a roll-lock course, and then we had an extended cap on top of that. But I think your concerns were that it wasn't cornice enough, or there wasn't enough top to it. And so our change here, and you can see in this detail, was to add, so you can sort of see the top, and then we added these piano keys so that where we have the brick pull out and then a belt that runs along so that it adds a little bit more shadow, and it's just a little bit heavier top to the building. I missed the whole canopy. So you can see the difference in the canopy. The canopy was a slab, right? Meaning that it was just sort of a solid sort of cantilevered plane with a smooth perimeter. And here it gets a little thicker, so it's a little bit more robust. And it has this 3-stepped trim to it. So it has kind of a cornice. It's sort of a replication of the cornice you see up at the top of the building, just to add a little bit more detail. And, you know, again, here it's a good view of the base. So that's another thing that was really important for us in the design guidelines, is to kind of create a base, as I mentioned, how it kind of lines up with the buildings on either side of us, but that we pull the brick out and add the sort of rustication to it to give it some weight. The materials haven't changed with the exception of the elimination of the screen, but the geolam is still the same materials. I said that will be the wall, the inset wall, and then the cladding of the rooftop access. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for the petitioner? I do.
Yes. For the geolam, it appears gray. I know the original geolam screening was for brown. Is
Yes.
the photos accurate that it's more of a gray color, or is it going to be that brown?
You can see here, it's the same color. So it's the same material that
Same
you see
material.
in this image.
And so it's
It's the teak. It's a colored
Okay.
teak.
okay. And then the accordion bridge, that's the correct term, that is now also in the geolam.
Yeah. And that
Before
was
it was
clad in
white.
geolam before.
Okay, it looked white in last photos. Okay.
It's hard to get, the material
Yep.
the
It's
exact,
specific
right?
in the renderings. I know. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure.
Oops. Wrong way.
And then the wood door, is it going to be a wood finish or is it painted?
Well, we're showing painted finish. Right now we have it kind of a sea foam green. I think this is something we still have to work out.
Okay.
Natural wood is not out of the question either. But I think the idea here is it's a solid wood door.
And then standard size door, it looks slightly larger in the renderings, but just curious.
Yeah, I think it's a 8-foot tall door, so it's kind of tall. I mean, I think an entry door should be a little bit bigger,
Yeah.
3 feet wide. So that would be typical. Your home probably has the
Yeah.
same one.
Pivot hinge or regular hinge?
No, regular butt hinges.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Just wanted to say this project is beautiful and I think it's very well designed, and the amount of detail and level of consideration that you have put into that is great. I think it's very well proportionally where it's located. And I think it's kind of like very fresh considering similar multifamily developments that you see here in downtown or also in other suburbs. And I think how you treated the Washington Street elevation is so smart with this accordion and how you layer the materials. And I think it's just beautiful and very well built, very nice.
Thank you.
And very well proportioned. And it's like as if it's meant to be here. The streetscape, I just see how this would be a great addition to that corner.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner? I just wanted to thank you. I mean, we had a very lengthy meeting last time and a lot of back and forth about requests and questions. And I appreciate the effort that you guys did to go through putting, responding to our comments. So thank you for doing that. Okay, at this point, any member of the public may question the petitioner's witnesses and or evidence, and may provide sworn testimony and other evidence, including opinion and commentary. I just want to remind everyone again, and just like the last meeting, our purpose here is to ensure that this application meets the design guidelines. We're not looking at zoning. We're not looking at architectural style. We're strictly looking at the design guidelines and whether this meets those. So I just want to point that out. Obviously, we'll take any commentary, but I wanted to just remind everyone that that is what the purview is of this particular board. So with that, if there are any members of the public who would like to provide comment, please step forward. State your name. Good evening.
Hi. Brought a lot up here. Sorry. There we go. Hi, my name is Christine Martin. I'm a resident of Downers Grove and I live on Maple Avenue. I would like to start first to say that I agree with a lot of what you said, in that the building itself is a nice looking building. And not to be too controversial, but I liked a lot of it. The first rendition was very nice too, the slabs. So I do think it's a nice building. But that being said, years ago, 2013, some of us, I know Amy Gasson was there and several of us here in this room today, there was a meeting at the Lincoln Center. And at that meeting, it was a pretty heated meeting, and it was to discuss the demolition of the Edwards house and a very large, the marquee going in. We did lose that battle, but we learned so much from that. It was when I really started to say that preservation is really important, especially in this district. Maple Avenue is technically an honorary historical district. I took a photo once, and it's the picture of his honorary historical district, and there's all these bulldozers and cranes behind it. And so after that meeting, though, at the Lincoln Center in 2013, we were leaving, and Mayor Barnett was there at the time. And we were all walking out together, and I said, you know, if a building like this goes in, it is slowly going to creep down Maple Avenue. And he said, that'll never happen. Well, we've crossed Maple Avenue. Excuse me, we've crossed Washington. And we're crossing Washington with the very same type of a structure that is already the dash and the marquee and the building in front of that on Maple and Main. And so it is coming into a residential area. I fully understand it is in the area that is the downtown transitional. I know that it can only be 3 stories. What bothers me so much is that it affects the surrounding neighbors. It affects their property values. And I care about that. And to say it just frankly, and this has nothing to do with this board, in my experience with the Downers Grove Village, the resident is never prioritized ever. I've never seen the resident actually be put first, and their property values and their homes. I've yet to see it. And so I know that the house itself isn't going to be saved. So we're not even asking for that, but I would like to make comment on the house itself. The house itself is a beautiful home. Within the write-up from the Glover Group, they say it's not inhabitable. And so to call that out, forgive me, but that is just blatantly untrue. I've been in that house. I think a few people might have been in the house. That house was unfortunately not purchased by Elaine Pagels. She was going to keep the house. And I remember her talking about it. She had had a secure loan for that home. But unfortunately, cash came through and they were able to purchase it. But that home it was inspected at the time. The plumbing, the roof, the attic is exceptional. The woodwork in it is gorgeous. The built-ins are gorgeous. And the staircase in that home is very, very unique. So unfortunately, I know it will come down. We're not petitioning for it to be saved, but it does sort of go back to that go green, save things. This house is going to go in a landfill, like so many older homes do. I personally can speak on this because I do have an older home. It was a tragic house. It was a hoarder house. It was a home that most people call tear downs. And we went in and we put some money into it. We did not break the bank in any way. We cleaned it. We plastered it. We put it back together. And so I can speak that houses like that, according to Elaine, all it needed was a floor. They need to sand the floor, paint it, and clean it. So unfortunately, in the Glover Group, that is not correct. It's in perfectly good shape. And so in the end, what I want to say is, though I do think this is a very nice building, classical architecture on Maple Avenue with all its historic homes, Maple Avenue is one of the very last historical streets. It's known for that. And so just like the dash, the marquee, that street, Amy, what is the terminology? It's called I read the guidelines, the street wall. I just feel like that street wall is going to continue to come down all the way across Washington now. And classical architecture is Maple Avenue. And we petitioned to have that brought into this drawing. And we did hire somebody and it'll be spoken about also, but we do have a drawing that we had done. Do you have that up there? Did they give this to you at all? No? go grab those pieces, okay? And so they'll bring this up. So it's not the exact, all these windows here, but the idea that we are wanting to show you is that something like this is beautiful on Maple Avenue. This building can go so many places because it is a nice building, but this is Maple Avenue. So, in closing, you can go give it to Mrs. Gasson. Okay, go give that to Mrs. Gasson.
Thank you.
In closing, I'm pleased. It used to be Hpdrb, and now you're historic preservation, RDB. And so I like that the historic preservation is part of this group now, and I understand, Flora, that it's not part of how you are going to explain exactly how it works, that you are not in charge of the actual architectural part of it. Is that correct?
And we're historic preservation and design review board. So we look, but they're two separate things. So we look at historic preservation applications and we look
Yep.
at design review board, design review applications.
Fine.
So this particular petition is before us because it's a design review
Right.
application, not because it's related to historic preservation. If it
Understand.
was a historic landmark or if it was in a historic
Right.
district, then this would be a totally different meeting.
Correct.
But-
It's not,
Yeah.
right, right. We did try and landmark it and they wouldn't landmark it. Yeah, so,
Laura, I'm sorry, did you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered it.
yeah, you said it well. I get it now. Okay, thank you. Thanks for explaining that. Yeah, so again, the building is really nice, but as a resident of Maple Avenue, I would really like to keep it, even though it's honorary, keep it as a historical district. And what we showed you, something along those lines, even the change of color of brick or adding where it's just a more classic architecture, we would be thrilled at that because it's too much of a tunnel down Maple Avenue now. So those are my comments and thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If you have a question.
We'll ask at the end, right? Yeah, at the end. Any other public comments?
All right, so Tom Nybo. It's been a while since I've been here.
Welcome.
Started Friends of the Edwards House, love historical preservation, but I also welcome new. Okay. This building, the design, fundamentally footprint wise is great, but we need to blend into the streetscape of what Maple Avenue truly is. And if we look at the corner of Curtis and Washington, that was the time when everybody wanted to build awesome buildings in town. Now they're dated. They have small elevators. They don't fit into the community. They're not longevitable. All right. We welcome that, but this is what we need to represent. They love historical preservation. All right. But they also like new. We have to set the stage for our children. Okay. We're all going to be gone. Maybe he might even want to buy one day, but could we incorporate some of the design from the house that we're tearing down, the red brick, a chimney, a green roof, an eye window, something that represents what is being removed that a whole lot of other people still and will always miss when it's gone. There's other places in town that we can build an awesome structure that looks new. Okay. We're doing it right now, right over there. Right? I think it's that way, right? Where the police station used to be, or is it that way? I don't know. But I mean, there's still land to be developed. I look at Dickey Tool. I worry about Dickey Tool, thinking that would be an awesome loft experience once they decide to move out. But on Maple Avenue, east of Washington, we should really think about what we're putting there moving forward. Okay. We don't need modern. We need something that has character for the other homeowners that live on that street. They bought on that street for a reason. And if we start tearing that street down, we're losing the last portion of Downers Grove that's still fully intact. We've already lost it going west. It's gone. All right, starting at Washington. But if we could come up with a plan that blends in together, you know, let's just try. Let's see if there's something else that we could do before we put something that's breaking glass on that specific corner. You know, the sign is right there in front of that house. Historical honorary district. Okay, it's not a real historical district. We get that. But it is represented as what Downers Grove is. And it's just that little area. So what would you like?
I would just like for us to win the house back.
We can't win house back. But you want something that blends in.
Yeah.
Right?
It looks like the same house.
So
Different.
that's just my thoughts. Let's just, you know, there's other places. We live in a big town. Let's see what we can do. You know, just think about it a little bit before you take it. Because once it's gone, it's gone. You know, once it's gone, it's gone. So that's my 2 cents. Appreciate you guys for what you do. I know that's totally outside of the box of, you know, what you're trying to do this evening, but that's just my heart talking to you. So, and they do care about it the same way as me. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening.
Good. My name is Ian Ogden. So I have history in my blood. I mean, I'm on the board of the Historical Society. I'm co-chair of Friends of the Edwards House, and my late mother spent the 80s fighting to keep the brick streets intact in this town. And this has been a tough one because obviously I love to preserve things, but I know that we're just not going to do that in this situation. And I will say I don't hate the changes that have been made to this building. I think that they are, I hate to say it, but they're not bad at all. So I think that we can preserve places in this town, and we will continue to try to change, you know, the downtown design guidelines, really work on those, and maybe, you know, give the historic preservation ordinance, I believe, some upkeep. But I think that, you know, I mean, as much as I'd like to see this be like a vintagey looking building, I think that architecture is an art form. It's something that and we're not here to legislate that. We're not here to you know, kind of decide what the style should be of this place. But I would say that this is an acceptable building for the location. It's not the worst thing that could be put up there. So I think that, yeah, this is, you know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
My name is Bill Curran, and my wife Linda and I live directly across the street from this building at 905 Maple, and we've been there for what will soon be 40 years, along with a number of other people on our block, neighbors on either side that have been here for decades. We're not here to oppose the fact that they're going to build a building there. That's a given. What we're concerned about is the style of the building, the design of the building. That's your job. It seems to be the consensus from those from last month's meeting. There were a number of comments that were made negative to this building. I could read a bunch of them, but I'll read a few. It doesn't feel like it fits within the context of the street it's on. The design is not residential in nature. It looks like an office building. The design has no thought about the existing neighborhood and doesn't look anything like the historic landmark homes on the block. The design does not fit with the aesthetics of the neighborhood. These were some of the things that were said at last month's meeting, and they're in your minutes. So that being the feedback, my question is why the architect and the builder is so opposed to designing a building that addresses more the style of the existing residential homes and historic neighborhood. Last month, Mr. Hornoff, I believe that's Mr. Hornoff. Mr. Hornoff made these statements. It's not about what the building looks like. And also, I believe buildings should be more modern. That's his opinion. The location of this building requires it to follow the DG transition rules, not an architect's personal preference for modern buildings. Shouldn't the lot owner be aware of this requirement as well? And shouldn't that have been taken into consideration before submitting a design? Isn't the purpose of the design review board to make sure that the design of the building blends with the established old neighborhood it's transitioning into? The board should request a redesign more in line with the existing neighborhood and the vintage homes that are on Maple Avenue. Being directly across the street and those homes that are directly surrounded by it, I don't think there's any question that it's going to impact the value of our homes. And at the minimum, if we were to decide to sell these homes, it will diminish the number of people that would look to buy it. And this being your decision, I think you all need to look at that building and ask yourself, if you live in Downers Grove, if you would be accepting that building across the street from your homes. And if you wouldn't, then you should vote accordingly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Dave Williams. I live over on Fairmount, and we've been here 45 years. My concern is this is the second time we've done this as far as this location. We were here several years ago with a different owner talking about the same property. The same discussion was that it didn't fit in. Everybody agreed that they had the right to do it. And there wasn't anything there, like has been mentioned, that we could legislate a design. However, the spirit of the street is being lost. I agree with everybody, what they're saying. And a classical design or something that would be more transitional, I think would be important. But I don't understand why we keep going back. It was rejected the last time because of this, the design. And I just don't understand why developers are not willing to take that into consideration. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Good evening.
Hi. Katie Callahan. I live to the north of the 902 parcel. I'm just looking at this plan here regarding the driveway egress on the Washington side. And I don't know if this was already talked about, but it looks like the parking is not going to be available that is currently there. I think there's 6 spots. So I just wanted to ask about that, but also that access for that driveway is about, it looks like it's around 50 feet north of that stop sign intersection area. I'm just going to tell you, I live about 75 feet north of it. And on an average day, if I'm not going even in rush hour, it'll be like morning, afternoon, off times. There are people that drive through that intersection extremely quickly. And usually I look and I wait and see no one's exchanging in either direction. I slowly pull out and I'll have someone like in my rearview mirror. And then I just proceed to the Curtis stop sign, going the speed limit, and the person just rides me usually till Ogden or wherever I'm going. But I've also had people decide that they're not going to stop, and they'll come up next to me and we'll be driving down the street together, and then they cut me off. And that's the reaction I get from that intersection. It's extremely dangerous. I'm just going to tell you that. And I'm just looking at these plans, and this is just, 7 to 14 additional cars that are going to try and be doing that, what I do every day. And it's just extremely dangerous. That intersection, there's almost no regard. There's so many stop and rolls. People just fly right through there. There's all kinds of accidents. And I'm just telling you what it's like. I always just kind of say to myself, and I'm putting it in drive, someone lives here, so just so you are aware, that's a really, really dangerous intersection. And being closer to that intersection and having that driveway area sounds extremely dangerous to me. But just my thought on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Evening.
Good evening.
Thelma Moberg. Katie did a good job at covering the issue with the dangerous corner there at Washington and Maple, which will, with your architectural rendering, will get even worse. We FOIA'd every accident, every mishap at that corner, and it is incredibly dangerous. There's a lot of people going back and forth to school, walking their dogs. And on a side note, I was really surprised to see this new rendering of what this could possibly look like. I can appreciate your comments, but this has no place in this neighborhood. This building has no place in this neighborhood. It does not transition whatsoever within to the Maple Avenue homes or the whole neighborhood for itself. This is, I mentioned it before, this is a in-your-face modern architecture. It's not consistent with anything that's in our neighborhood. It will diminish our property values. Let's see. Last time, well, I think there was a letter or an email that went out to Flora about the parking spots. They're going to be removed on the Washington side for departure from this building, which was not, I'm not sure I'm conveying this right, but I got the copy of the email. And I wish you would clarify that email if you can. Let's see, what was my other thought that I brought up last time? I said to you, I said, where are you going to put all your supplies? You're going to shut down Washington or Maple like you did Warren Avenue and shut the street down and put your supplies in? His comment was, we'll put them on the site. That's not possible. You can't build a building and put all the supplies on the site. So how are you going to do that and keep the traffic flowing? Because there is a lot of traffic, not only from the Dash, the Marquee, and Maple on Main. There's so much traffic. I put that in your lap, that drawing, because I can't believe that there's people that go to school to learn architecture, but can't take into account what's already there, and you did not. And you've got your arms crossed, you've got this whole like shutdown thing. There's a lot of people that would love to see some form of a beautiful transitional building. Not this. This is lovely, but it's not meant for this neighborhood. So with that being said, these do not fit this transitional design guidelines. And I would really like Flora to go over about the parking that's going to be taken out on Washington and the cutbacks, or I'm not sure how to say it architecturally, but the cutbacks on Maple Avenue. So I don't know if you can do that tonight, but that would be great.
We'll address at the end of public comments. for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
I would like to just add one more. This is coming from the downtown design guidelines that you did. I'm going to read
Just state your name again.
sorry, Christine Martin. The downtown transitional district guidelines are intended to accommodate and promote transitional land use and development patterns between the downtown core and the downtown business districts and the nearby low density residential areas. The guidelines are intended to help prevent intensive downtown development from encroaching into stable residential areas. This building encroaches onto those. It encroaches onto the residents. And again, I'm going to repeat, as others have, it hurts our property values. So it is encroaching. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Last chance. Okay, I think there were some there was some questions maybe for the public?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers? Yes. Is that a good, to start there with the questions or? Okay. And then we'll address the questions from the public. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. The picture that was brought up, is that what you're suggesting they should do? And is that? All right, just whoever brought it up, tell me yes or no, please. And is that on the left, is that the original house still intact?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's, you guys can, I don't need a comment. I need
Not exactly this, but something very
Okay. Okay. Just, if we need to have, please
I just,
let just one person at a time.
just one question.
Did you have another question?
Yeah, actually, is that all right?
Is that how you want to
Or,
proceed? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
can I ask you a question? Okay. Please never.
You lost your chance. That was a while ago.
How many, and this is asking Laura, so please let her answer. How many historical homes are on Maple Avenue east of Washington? Do you know right offhand?
East of Washington?
East of Washington.
You mean landmarked?
Yeah,
Like it
Yeah.
officially landmark.
Just pulling up the map now.
okay. I figured she had a better chance.
Like with the whole, all of Maple or just to, you're saying east of Washington?
East of Washington, so it would hit up to like.
Yeah.
Where it goes over the tracks would be nothing after it.
Trying to count in my head.
I was like, you could have an HP.
There's 4 landmark properties around Maple Avenue between Washington and the tracks.
Out of how many? Out of how
Oh,
many?
there's 30.
There's 33.
33.
Landmark homes.
In the town, not just on Maple, is what they're saying.
Correct.
There's 33 total.
No, but on Maple, how many, for that stretch, like how much percentage are historical homes?
Oh, how many homes are on Maple in that section?
Percentage are historical properties part of Maple
So
Avenue?
you have 4 historical,
4 local.
and then how many actual homes are there between?
Along
They,
that street.
they don't know that.
Yeah, no, I know, but like, you know,
If you were to look and guess, it would be most of them.
Well, she said 4.
Landmarked,
Yeah.
landmarked.
Yeah,
Right.
we're talking about landmarks.
She's asking how
Yes.
many homes in general, period. She's asking how many homes.
Percentage of the homes along that street are actually landmark historical.
We don't know for the percentage because we don't know the total number of homes.
Which
but-
anybody who is sitting in the audience right now, landmark your homes or at least get them on the historical preservation group in the historical society. Just as heads up.
Or form a historic district, because in that case, even though this house may have gotten, torn down and it was new construction, we could actually have more of a say in the architectural style. So
Tried for 10 years.
I'm just telling you,
But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah,
Like there are a lot
it's-
of other homes that
yeah.
are not historically designated.
not official. They're not, if, please don't talk, just to keep everything in order. I'm sorry, this is what we have to do to keep the meeting
Sorry about that.
in order.
Leonard, do you have
Okay.
more questions?
No, not for now.
So do you want to, there were some questions, I think, from the public comments that some of them were directed to staff. Do you want to try to address those?
Sure, I can do that. So there was a question about parking, a reduction on Washington Street. So staff does estimate that about two parking stalls, parallel parking stalls would be lost. However, on-street parking is not under the purview of the Historic Preservation and Design Review Board. Instead, if this was recommended for approval, that would be reviewed under a formal building permit, and our traffic manager would then review the proposal in more detail.
Can you say the last part again? So the 2 are being lost. 2 spaces being lost. on the
There's 2
street.
spaces
Mhm.
being lost on Washington Street, but that's not under the purview of the Hpdrb. That would be reviewed more closely with a building permit.
Okay, during the permitting process.
Correct.
And I
Okay.
assume the same is with the curb cuts, location from
Yes.
intersection, et cetera.
I'll just add to that too, because I know at this meeting, there's concerns about the intersection and the traffic that's related to it. It's not, again, the purview of this group, just so the residents know, we do have another commission that does both of those kind of matters. And that is the Transportation and Parking Commission, and they meet once a month like all the rest of the commissions that we have in town too. So if there's concerns, that would be the appropriate board or commission to provide those concerns. And then we do have a staff member that is our transportation manager. So provide information at the meeting. Appropriate.
Yeah, so I encourage that, I mean, that if, you know, those of you that are concerned about the safety of that intersection to address those comments to that board. Is there anything else?
I think those were the only two questions for staff.
Okay. I was just going to make a clarification because I think someone noted that the last proposal that went through, which was last year, it didn't come through this board, but it was not rejected. It was actually the developer. I mean, I don't know what happened, but decided not to do the project. So it actually went through village council and was approved, but for whatever reason, the developer didn't proceed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Not that it matters or anything, but I just wanted to clarify that just for the record. Are there any, I guess, moving on, like, are there any other, I don't know that there are really any other questions that need to be addressed, but I have some comments, but is there anyone up here that
I
want to make any?
If staff can clarify, the transitional zoning comment that was made that this is encroaching into this neighborhood, the transitional guidelines are about density. So we are transitioning into a three-story building instead of what is allowed on the other side of the street. Has nothing to do with transitional design.
I commented on this at the last meeting, so I'll state it again. And even the portion of the text that I'll read one more time was referenced this evening by a public member. But it does say the downtown transition district guidelines are intended to accommodate and promote transitional land uses and development patterns between the downtown core or the downtown business and the nearby low density residential areas. And then it says the guidelines are intended to help prevent intensive downtown development from encroaching into stable residential areas. And so what was clarified with that statement is that the guidelines don't have a preference for the single family residential or the downtown business and downtown core. The intent is to design something per the guidelines that is a both without a preference to either the single family to the east or the downtown business and core to the west and north of this property.
And I'm sorry, I should have said too, since there's no more questions for the public up here, the petitioner can also, if you have any questions from members of the public, from the public comment, if there were any questions that you had related to that. Okay. Sorry, were you going to say something else?
Oh, I was just going to add, we can have a final statement from the petitioner.
Yeah, I was going to get there. Yeah, so at this time, if you want to make any final.
Yeah, we're kind of confused about that whole statement. Jason's comment. So.
Jason, can you try to clarify that?
We do need members of the public that come up to the podium because we are recording this meeting. Just to make sure it's audible, yes.
Just say your name again too for the record, please.
Selma Moberg. Sorry, Jason, we just didn't understand. Can you clarify exactly what you just said? Because it went over like 5 people's head,
Sure.
right? Just so, thank
The
you.
statement was, I read exactly what was in the text on page 6 of the design guidelines, but it does not show a preference for design for the low density residential areas, for design of those buildings to be more important than the downtown business or downtown core design. So the idea is that the design of this building could work off of both areas in town. It doesn't specify that one particular land use or development type is the preference for the type of design that should happen on this site. That's what that statement means, and that's what it states in the guidelines. That's how we've applied it.
Okay. So with that, petitioner, if you would like to come up and summarize your position, make any closing remarks.
Adam Berry. Good evening, members and attendees. Thank you all for being here tonight and taking the time to participate in this discussion. Truly appreciate your attention and thoughtful input that has been shared. Overall, I do believe the building has turned out better because of your input. I would argue that I believe it more of looking like an Art Deco style now. And I do believe that the revised proposed townhomes, they do reflect the intent of the downtown design guidelines and incorporate the feedback and suggestions we've received from both the public and the board members. We believe the project will be a positive addition to the community, helping to create, a smooth and visual cohesive transition between the downtown area and the surrounding residential neighborhoods. Thank you again for your time, your engagement, and your thoughtful consideration. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So at this time, the Hpdrb will now deliberate based on the evidence presented. Does anybody want to start with any comments or thoughts?
I just wanted to address one of the comments I made last time about the GeoLam. I researched it further. It holds up pretty well based off of reports, so I'm no longer concerned about that material.
Thank you. Thanks for researching. Any other comments about the updated design or anything you've heard tonight?
I'll comment. I do think the updated design with the addition of more wood as opposed to the windows and, oh, sorry. The updated design does make it look a little more residential. The adding more over the doors, changing the doors, and well, I still personally would rather see something like the picture that was brought up or the townhomes on Curtis. I do think that the redesign helps.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Rivers?
Just through real quick on my phone, it looks like there's 41 homes on that spot in Maple. So if you had 4 out of 50 or 51 homes, I'm sorry. So if you had 4 out of 51, you'd be a hair less than 8%.
Thank you for your research calculations. Doing math.
Right.
The public comment is closed now, so we're deliberating. I'm sorry. You couldn't hear the comments? Okay, can you say that again?
Oh, so there's
Try to speak into the mic, maybe it might help.
There's 4 historical landmarks. And I just, for the brief count, I counted 51 homes total. So that's a hair under 8%.
So just under 8% of the homes located in that area are designated historic landmarks. Correct. Right. We're deliberating and we're not having any more public comment. Did you have anything? No comments?
No
Okay.
comments. I just think upscaling a house into a townhome or a multi-family development just because of the style doesn't necessarily age a better product, creates a wall, and items like chimneys and roofs and ocular windows become out of scale. So that's, again, it's my personal opinion. I really think this is a great transitional design for that area, and it's a nicer transition to what goes on the other side in the downtown core. So I still believe it's very nicely proportioned for its location.
I mean, I agree the massing is appropriate, and it shows on the first page of the drawing set. There's kind of like a bird's eye view, and you can really see it actually matches much better from a massing standpoint with the adjacent residential than it does with the dash, which is across Washington Street. That being said, there's at least 4 architects that I know of in this room, and I'm sure we would all have a different idea of what should be built here, what style it should be in. We'd probably, none of us would agree on, right, what would be there. So, that being said, that's one reason why, the guidelines don't dictate architectural style. So, while this might not be what I would put in this lot, I think that it meets all the design guidelines. I appreciate that you addressed all of the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting. I think it does feel more residential now that there's less glass, especially in some of the other smaller details that were revised. And I just want to reiterate again that the only way, there is a mechanism for dictating new construction and what gets built, and that's a historic district. So I know that it has been tried in the past to do that in this particular area, but it's new residents and you never know. So I would say I'd love to see a historic district in Downers Grove. We don't have one yet, so don't give up. Any other comments or is anyone ready to give a motion? There is a kind of a draft motion there on the last page of this page 2 of the staff report. Somebody wants to provide a motion. There's no other comments.
Yeah, where's the draft?
Isn't there like a draft motion?
12?
On page 11, I believe.
Page 11.
It's page 2 of the staff report, but yeah, it's 11 in the PDF file.
Got it, got it.
Yeah, sorry.
Excuse me. Everybody able to find it?
No.
So it's based on.
Based on, yeah. So I read the whole thing. Based on the petitioner's submittals, the staff report and testimonies presented, I find the petitioner has met the standards for approval for the certificate of design appropriateness for 902 Maple Avenue for design of the proposed 7 attached homes with the following conditions. The building materials shall be sustainably consistent with the approved plans and material boards as verified by the village and consistent with the downtown Downers Grove guidelines.
Motion by Ms. Brooks. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kolev. Roll call.
Brooks,
Here.
Kolev,
Yes. Aye.
Aye.
Purcell,
Aye.
Rivers,
Aye.
Chairperson Gasson.
Aye. So the approval has been approved.
Mhm.
And as a reminder, this does not go to village council. This is the final say.
Correct.
Unlike some of our other petitions. Thank you again. So that closes the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there any old business
We do not have any old business
or new business?
or new business either.
Is there any public comment of a general nature not related to the public hearing?
I would like to say that here is yet another one that never listens to the residents. At this point, there's no point. You'll probably never see us here again, which will be fine for you. That this village and the Downers Grove Council never consider the residents first. I've never seen it. And that's despicable. And it's happening all through different cities all around. Naperville, Lisle right now, the same thing is happening. Nobody listens to the residents. So you can go home to your McMansion or whatever it is and laugh at me when I brought that up, because that's what both of you did. And that's appalling. I'm a resident. It's my street that I live on. And you're putting this up and it's wrong. You don't listen to people. You take the contractor's money first, and that's bogus. You're destroying this town. Shame on you.
Any other public comments of a general nature not related to the public hearing? And please don't attack anyone on the.
Oh, no, I'm not going to. My name is Ian Ogden again. I was going to point out that on Maple, as I looked at the Historical Society website, there are 4 landmarks and 6 historic homes or centennial homes on that street, right east of Washington.
Thank you. Lots of tidbits tonight.
Those are good tidbits. Selma Moberg. I was sad to see that the village council was able to get it to you guys, your board. They washed their hands of 902. So we were not able to fight anymore, and they dropped it in your laps, which now you get the anger from everybody, and you don't want to listen. You don't want to work with the public, but it's a shame to see the village council drop it in your laps. So they have nothing more to do with this.
Any other public comments of a general nature not related to the public hearing? Okay, with that, are there any staff announcements or
We
news?
do not have any
Updates?
additional staff announcements, no.
We are working with the village manager's office, just to get your 7th board member. We know you're still down one, so hopefully we can get that person appointed and onboarded, so you have a full board over there too. We just filled the planning and zoning commission, and so this is next.
Perfect.
Jason, just for like public knowledge, there's certain seats that have to be somebody has to fill the seat that has certain requirement.
Right. I
What
believe-
is technically the open?
It's a general,
I think
it's a
it's
general
general
open,
one.
yeah.
There's one
We have-
attorney, one architect,
We,
one member.
no, there's two
Two
architects,
sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
somebody.
the Historical Society and an attorney, which is Ms. Purcell. So it's just an
At large.
at-large member. And then Mr. Verver is used.
So it's an at-large.
It's just an at-large, yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
before they-
What do you think?
everybody else? Would you mind me documenting that entire house? Photography before you tear it down?
Can you just talk to him on the, like, on the side?
We'll be having a, sale, so he was.
Okay. Mr. Barry and Mr. Nybo, can you continue your conversation outside of the council chambers, please? Any other staff updates or announcements?
No.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms.
Second.
Koloff, second by Ms. Brooks. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.